How old are you?
86.
Is that it?
I will be in a month.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. Um,
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
so we'll just jump into the questions and kind of let you tell your story. And what got you into cue making?
Well, I was a stockbroker and I enjoyed playing pool. And every day when the market would close, I'd go to the local pool hall and play pool and made friends with the people there. One of them was a recently retired military guy, and he was about my age. And he said, we played every day practically. And one day he said, let's make a cue. And I was dumb enough to think that wouldn't be too tough. So we jumped in, and he lasted about a month, and I kept going. So that got me into it, and I fell in love with it. And after about a year and a half, or about a year, I guess it was, I went full time at it.
Did you ever suck at it?
Did I ever what?
Was your cue making at the beginning when you first, was it kind of mediocre?
It was terrible. I've got the first cue I ever made, and I won't let anyone see it. So it's that bad.
Have you ever bought any of your old cues back?
Yes, I have.
Why? I want to
For
know why.
various reasons. One was I made ones that we loved so much. My wife said, you shouldn't have sold that. I said, well, I'll get it back. She said, do it. So, and that was about a $40,000 cue, and I had to cough up the money to get it back.
So it was easier to buy it back than it was to make another one?
I didn't want to have two of them available.
Okay.
But, I wanted to give it to her as a shoe to go into a collection that I started for in the very early years of my cue making.
Like, how early is that? You're 85 years old. When did it start?
All right, I could not hear that.
So when did you start making cues?
I made my first one in 1974.
I was one.
Yeah, that was one. And then in 1975, I considered going full time, and at the end of that year, I did. So,
Is there one cue that you've built that was your favorite?
well, there was until just recently. Chantilly Gold I made back in the 90s, and it was my wow cue to me. And then
Did you
just
say your
recently I
wow
made Got Big Night.
cue to you?
Yeah.
What?
Did you ever sponsor any players?
Yeah. Well, no, I would say I have not. I had players come to me and they bought cues from me. Grady Matthews, Steve Mishra, Jack Calavita. I could go on the list and lists and lists of old time players. Nothing current.
Richard, let's talk about Steve Mishra. Okay.
Okay.
So John
I
Guffey
guess you're
told
going to
me.
have to repeat because I can't hear the bad guy.
The bad guy.
Yeah.
So John Guffey told us to ask you about Steve Mishra
Playing with your
Well,
cue.
playing with your cue.
Yeah, Miz played with my cue for the longest time. He I met him first at the US Open in Chicago, well, in the mid 70s. And well, I made it. He asked me to make a cue. I made it, and he wound up selling it, and then he asked me to make him a fancy one, and I did that. And actually, I made him a set of three. Made a leather bound build book with it, and he played with that for years. And I think he had it up until the time he died, and then his wife Karen sold it.
Did you have a relationship with him?
With Steve? Yeah. Yeah. I would, anytime I'd go to a tournament that he was at, I would either room together or right next to each other. And we were talking on the phone all the time. He came to my house many times. One time he came down from Jersey to Houston, and he said, "I hate this trip down here, Black." I said, "Why?" He says, "Well, it's 3 hours long and they only feed you once."
Yeah, he was a big guy.
He was, yeah. We drive from one side of town to the other, and he'd have to stop someplace for a piece of pie or something.
Was he diabetic?
And not to my knowledge, no. I am, but
Okay. Guffey has given me a few questions, okay? And one of them is about a famous pool table that you owned.
yes, I do. When I first got married up in the Chicago area, it was out in Fox River Valley. My in-laws were members of a local American Legion Hall. Matter of fact, my father-in-law was a past post commander there. And in the basement, they had 2 pool tables. And they wanted to get rid of them because they wanted to put a rec room down there. So they were just going to give them away. And I said, "Well, I'll take them." So that was brought up in a meeting. And one guy said, "Hey, they might be worth some money. We ought to take bids on them." So sure enough, I bid. And I bid $200 on one and $100 on the other one. And at the meeting, another guy came in at 201 on the one table that I really wanted. And my father-in-law stood up. He did not tell everyone that I was his new son-in-law. He stood up and said, "Well, look, this other guy, he bid on both of them. Let's give him the order." So I got both tables. When I got it, I immediately sold the one I did not want and tore down the other one. And I was cleaning it up, and I saw that there was what looked like silver on it. So I went to a neighbor lady that did jewelry, and I said, "Is this silver?" She said, "Well, I don't know. Let's spread this on it and find out." She said, "If it turns black in a few seconds, it's silver." So she put it on, put that stuff on, and it turned black, and I grinned from ear to ear. So it turned out that the table had been built for a man named John Warren Gates. He was a an entrepreneur that he was known as Better Million Gates because he was so confident of his own knowledge on things that he would supposedly said that I'll bet you $1 million. Well, he says he never did that, but many other people said he did. And so I had the table that Better Million Gates had, and Gates became famous for making barbed wire. And he came down here to Texas in the 1800s and went to San Antonio and was sitting in a restaurant off the main street and got this great idea to run cattle down Main Street of San Antonio, Texas. He put an ad in the paper and strung barbed wire across the street, and he had the cowboys run the cattle, almost stampede them down Main Street. And when they got to the barbed wire, they stopped and turned around, and that was the end of the stampede. And from then on, barbed wire was king, and they started using it all over. That's the type of guy he was. And his last major outing was to go to Beaumont, Texas, and he started the Texas Oil Company there and made another fortune.
Wow.
Now, going back to the table, Bill Gates knows I've got the table. He knows that it's not for sale, but we all know that if he really wanted it, he could buy it.
I bet he could.
Is it like that with any of your cues?
Did what?
Is it like that with any of your cues? They're all for sale?
Repeat, please.
So all just like your cues, they're all for sale at a price.
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah.
Are we doing the relay here? Or Richard, can you hear me?
It's a little tough to hear you from the computer to the phone. So
yeah,
I am repeating your questions for you, which is
because I got like 20 questions. I've been playing shape on this since I met him 2 weeks ago.
Well,
okay, you ready for the first one?
Go ahead.
repeat.
He's fixing to ask you his first question when he finds it.
Hold on. All right, this one's good. What's unique about your cues?
What's unique about them is that I'm considered to be very eclectic. Other than what I call my brochure cues, I hardly ever redo a design. I never like to make the same cue over, except for 3 anniversary cues that I made. And after the 30th, I said, this is boring to me. I don't want to do this again. So I try to do just one of.
So what's unique about your cues is that each one is unique.
It's one of a kind.
Yeah.
So do you think that do you make more cues for collection purposes than you do for playability? Or are they all, I mean,
no, all my cues are dual functional. They are first playability and second artistry.
Gotcha. But the one
I take that back. I did make one cue that I choose. I tell people that cue should not be played. And it is because it was ordered by a collector who wanted a cue that Darth Vader would have ordered for himself. And Darth Vader was from the dark side. And I would never make cues that the inspiration was from the dark side. But the collector told me, look, Darth Vader started out good, went bad, and his final end was good. I said, all right, for that reason, I'll make it. But we all know that Darth Vader would not need to have to even point a cue. It would just go off in his hand. And so I made this cue with a hollow interior in the nose and put in some inlay that would show basically the planet that he was born on, and the good forces coming in one direction and the bad forces going in the opposite direction, and being hollow, that would not be a good thing to play with.
So the cues that you make that have, gold or silver in it, are they not too heavy?
No, I don't find them heavy, because anybody that is going to have a cue like that is going to play very short sessions.
Right. Okay.
And in the old days, the players might go 2 or 3 days playing with a cue. They couldn't have anything that's 21 or 22 ounces.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if a cue is a 21 or 22 ounce if you're only playing short sessions with it.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay, Mr. Black, I got a question, and this is actually from another cue maker. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. He says, ask him about his struggles. It couldn't have all been easy. So let's talk about when you weren't the most famous cue maker in the world. Let's talk about before that. Let's talk about some struggles. Some struggles.
Yes, I did. I started out for the first, like 20 years, 15 years it was, of making a lot of cues, inexpensive cues, $100 cues with one shaft and things like that. And I would work all day making them, and then I'd go out, and I had 3 routes around Houston, and I'd put 100 miles a night on the car going from pool room to pool room, trying to get people to acknowledge that my cues were good players and everything. And I'd do that about 3 to 4 nights a week, and go out about 7 o'clock at night and come home at midnight, sometimes even later. And it was a struggle. I had 2 little girls to bring up and get them married and off through college and everything else. And cue making was very good to me.
Okay. Would you have done anything different if you could go back and do it over? What would you have done anything different?
Not really, because I had to put in that first 15 years to get the reputation of how I do business and standing behind my word. And the thing that I really always did was if I told somebody when my cue was going to be ready for them, it would be ready then. If at the last minute something went wrong, I picked up the phone and I called that person and I told them that I was falling behind, but it had my utmost attention and would be the first thing out the door. So
Would you give your
I had
communication?
to
Would you give your communication a 10?
repeat.
Would you have give your communication a 10? 10 out of 10?
Yes, I would. Yeah.
Chris, I got like 20 more, buddy. You got one?
Well, go ahead.
All right. Are there any designs that you can't figure out how to make?
I just struggled with one last week, but I seem to have gotten through it. It was a design that actually a tube maker in China did, and I thought was extremely nice. And I took part of that design and tried to make it and had a terrible time. But after about a week, I got there. So
Okay, I got another one, which is more kind of like okay, here's the question. How long have you gone without going into the shop, Richard?
oof. I don't think the only time I've ever not gone into the shop is when I've been out of town.
What's the longest that's been?
If I'm in town, I'm going to be in that shop part of the day.
Okay.
If we or I or both of us was to make a trip down that way, could we come visit you and
Absolutely.
All right. That's something I'm looking forward to.
My door's open.
Okay, so it seems like that this is in your blood. I mean, it really does. Where did this come from?
Repeat.
See, it seems like, you've been doing this for so long and it's in your blood. So where does the motivation come from?
I would have to say my dad. He was a frustrated cabinet maker or whatever. He would make toys and furniture for his 3 kids and for Christmas time. And his dad before him made things. And my dad taught me, and I'd go get a toy and take it out in the yard, and leave it out there. My dad would go into his shop and see that it was missing. He knew where it was. He came up, got me out of bed and said, "Go get that hammer and put it back where it belongs." So I got a respect for keeping things where they belong in the shop, and I have that to this day.
I always had a tendency to not put things back where I got them.
Yeah, and even now I can say I put them back where I got them, but I put them back where they're. I find them where they're at the last place I had them.
Or it never fails. Somebody tells you to go look for something. They know right where it's at. You go look for it. You can't see it. If I find
That's
it,
right.
if I come down there and find it, I'm spanking your tail. And sure enough, it'll come right there. And that's the first thing they see when they walk in. It's like, oh, my goodness. So have you have you ever taken on an apprentice?
Oh yeah, I've helped one fellow up in New Jersey. He's very successful at making cues. I have a guy here in Houston that I actually gave my shop to about 5 years ago, and came out here to Brenham, 100 miles away from the old place, and set up a new shop here. I rely on this local guy very much because I've got COPD and I can't do the finish work, so he does that for me.
That's a tough illness to cope with.
Yeah, that it's going to cut my life short, but apparently at 86, I'm still hoping I've got 10 years left.
Me too. Me too. I used to own one of your inexpensive hustler cues.
I made a bunch of those.
Yeah, it was kind of rough when I bought it. I mean, it was straight, but the butt of it had some chips and stuff in it, and I wish I'd have never gotten rid of it.
They're made to play with.
Yeah, but a guy here that used to live here, he's a dealer down at Windstar Casino now, but he offered me more than I paid for it, so I sold it to him.
Yeah, a lot of people have done that and regretted it.
All right, Mr. Black, I got a question, and I want you to just be completely honest. Okay. How do you feel when someone steals one of your designs?
Well, first of all, I copyright my designs. If they're truly original to me, I copyright it. And that being said, there has, to my knowledge, there have been very few. Now, Gus Zambodi saw a cue of mine called the Black Baron, and it's a very popular cue of mine. And he said, that's a good design. I think I'll make one like it. Well, I saw the design that he made, and even though the rectangles and dots and all were all in the right places, he saw it in a masculine eye, and I saw it in a feminine eye. And the feminine eye has been popular for 40 years.
I have no idea what either of those eyes are, but I want to know if it pissed you off.
What ticks me off?
No, if it pissed you off. Yeah. Did it?
No. Chris, say that.
Did it upset you that he copied your cue?
Oh, no, it didn't. Emulation is the highest form of flattery.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, well, I mean, some people take it the other way, and some people take it as flattery, and some people take it the total other way. So I got to ask you, because everyone's trying to make cues like you.
The people that see it are going to give the credit to the first cue they saw with that design. They aren't going to search out that it's somebody else's design. I know that, and I'm not making that many cues that I have to worry about it.
Well, that's a good question too. How many cues did you make this last year?
Repeat, Chris.
How many cues have you made this year so far?
This year?
Yes, sir.
Probably about 5 or 6.
Yeah, I seen where you had said you slowed down to about 20 a year. So it's less than that. It's less than that now.
Yeah, I was working on 2 really humongous cues, and then I threw in a third one at the last minute to deliver at the Oklahoma City show. I am now working on a cue that I know I won't finish this year, but it'll be ready in January or February.
So the one that you just sold for 250,000 is that the most expensive cue you sold?
No, well, yes, it is that I've sold. Year back in the '90s, I made a cue for that I sold for 50,000. A month later, or 2 months later, it resold for 300,000.
Wow.
So,
Well, in a way, that's gotta make you proud.
yeah,
And
it also made me go make another one.
that's what
I made El Blanco Grande, and then I made El Blanco Segundo.
Is it about the money anymore? I mean, do you need any more money?
No, it's not about the money. I've got one client that'll support me for the rest of my life.
Well, then I want to. If it's not about the money, I want to order a cue.
Well, let me put it this way. I know now what they're worth.
I understand. I understand.
Have you ever thought that you overpriced your cues?
Repeat.
Is there any cues that you've made that you feel like you overpriced?
Well,
That's not what I said.
I know that I always wanted to make $1 million cue. I cannot design $1 million cue. I'd really love to do it, but I just can't come up with the design for it.
So where do you get the inspiration for your designs?
Absolutely every place. I can go out in nature, Mother Nature, and find designs. I can look at stairways and get designs. I can look at architecture, art, rugs, windows, doors, you name it. I can get a design from virtually anything.
That's pretty good.
Was there a cue maker, Richard, that inspired you? Was there someone that like, oh, I love how their cues look, and then
When I came into cue making, yes, I wanted to emulate two people. One was George Balabushka for his internal integrity, the playability of his cue. And the other was Ernie Gutierrez of Gina Q for his designs. I thought they were outstanding. And still do, you know.
are you guys friends?
Oh, yes.
You guys talk?
We did. I haven't in years, but I know when the ICCS originated their award for trailblazers, I didn't know it, but they called me up first and presented me the award. And as I was walking back to my chair, I walked by Ernie and I said, "This should have been yours." Well, I didn't realize they were going to induct 3 people, and Ernie, because of him being at the last of the alphabetical order, he was last in line.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I think the best learn from the best. So if you're a pool player, you're likely to be in a circle of the best pool players in your area. If you're a cue maker and you're one of the very best, you're likely to surround yourself with the best cue makers. So
You're always judged by the company you keep.
But me and Sean still hang out, so I'm kidding. Well, so how many cues do you keep to, do you have any that you have to sell, or you just custom order only now?
It's strictly custom. I don't have a single cue on hand.
And if a person was to order one, what would be the turnaround? I know it depends on the design and stuff, but just a basic cue.
Well, since I've only got basic cues, I'll be honest, I don't make. I have my friend Scott Gilmore, who I gave my shop to, basically put those together and finish them and send them out.
Okay.
I got to talk to him at the show.
I didn't hear that.
He said he got to talk to him at the ICCS show.
Yeah. Yes, he's very good at what he does, and he worked for me for 10 years before I gave him my shop. So that tells you he's been at it 15 years, and he's doing a good job.
Well, good.
So I didn't know Scott from anybody, and I talked to him, and my first question is, which one of these are Richard Black cues, right? And it was the whole line. We're talking like 30 cues in a row that are all your cues. Now, I want to say something. I want to say this.
It's the first year that it's been like that.
It was wild. But when he told me that, I mean, I've been talking to him for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, which ones of these are blacks? And he says, every single one of them.
Yeah.
And that is like Pavlok. I'm trying to name some other collectors that were there. Some of them only collect your cues.
Yes. There were several there that were like that.
And
although one guy sent me a picture where he's got like 50 of my cues, but he had this one cabinet that he had special made that had like 12 cues in it, and only one was not mine. And it stood out like a sore thumb. But that was Willie Mosconi's Balabushka playing cue. So it deserved to be in that cabinet.
That's never getting sold, ever.
Do you collect cues?
Oh, do I?
Yes, sir.
I didn't. My wife did, because when George Balabushka died, he didn't leave his wife much. And I said I was never going to do that. So I started giving her a cue every year. And she had like almost 50 cues in her collection when she passed. And I kept it for a couple of years, and then I said, I'm going to sell it. So I sold off that collection, and they're all gone.
You have kids? Do you have kids?
You said you had 2 daughters, right?
Yes, yeah. I made cues for them, which they have, and their husbands.
Do they even understand cue making or pool at all?
Did repeat?
Do they do they play pool at all?
No, I did. No.
No, it's just for the sentimental reasons.
Yeah.
Well,
my dad made it for me.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question about cue making, and it's this. Have you ever made a cue, really, really loved what you were doing, and then messed up at the end, and then had to scrap the cue, or decided to scrap the cue?
Yes, I have.
Tell me about it.
Well,
Tell me about it.
no, I can't bring up the details, and my mind doesn't come back that fast. But I I do remember scrapping some cues that I had really looked forward to making.
So I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we'll let you go. We've been on here almost an hour, and then I would really like to come down there and visit with you in person, meet you in person. And now what I was going to ask just left just left my mind.
You want to come down there and pick your brain, Mr. Black?
He started to sound like me.
So what player? I mean, so you used to play quite a bit back when you started building cues.
Yeah. Yes.
So what level did you play at?
Well, let's put it this way. The only game I enjoyed was straight pool, and 50 was my high run. I used to play Jersey Red 50 no count. He had to do the 50 no count.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Well, Mr. Black, appreciate you joining us. I wish we could have.
Right.
I wish we could have figured out how to get the video, but
yeah,
we'll.
We're doing video on the next one. We're gonna like recruit somebody, maybe one of your children, and we're gonna do the Zoom.
We're interviewing CJ Wiley tomorrow. So have you ever met him?
Oh, yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah,
well,
great cow.
So we're looking forward. We're looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Well, like I said, I want to thank you for joining us. I wish I'd have went to the ICCS show, but I don't know what happened that weekend that I didn't go.
Well,
he's in love with his wife, Richard. He's in love with his wife.
We know that scene. Yeah.
Well, guys, that's all the time we've got for today. I want to, like I said, thank Mr. Black again for joining us. If you like content like this, hit the subscribe button down below and give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment and let us know how we're doing. And we'll see you next time on the Pulling Around Show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Black.
Bye.
I just have to play that back and see how it